introduce our esteemed speaker once Mr. Mamen's opening remarks are over. So, Mr. Mamen, over to you for your opening remarks.
Thank you, Saibal, and thank you everyone who has joined for today's this webinar. Especially my special thanks to the speakers, to the panelists, Dr. Ageya, Ms. Veena, Reggie Koshi, and Mr. Sudhakar Raja, who would be guiding us about the topic and the subject which we are discussing today. ESG is I won't say a new one, but then it has acquired a lot of importance in the recent past. And there is a kind of a urge in several institutions to get themselves rated on ESG and ensure that they comply with the ESG norms. As Dr. Sabal said, ESG is nothing but environmental, social, and governance. Basically, we are looking at whether the business practices we follow, I mean, anybody follow, is on various sustainable and ethical manner. So this is what we are looking at. In fact, if you, as the name says, there are three distinct pillars to this. One is environmental. When you are talking about environmental, how sustainable our actions are, about the use of energy, whether the energy efficiency is being practiced, climate change strategy is looked at, waste reduction is followed, biodiversity loss is reduced, greenhouse emissions are reduced, carbon footprint reduction is done. So these are some of the environmental issues which probably in our business dealings we need to look at. When you come to the social part of it, fair pay and living wages, equal employment opportunities, employee benefits, workplace health and safety, community engagement, responsible supply chain partnerships, adhering to labor laws. These are some of the social areas which we are looking at. When you say governance, corporate governance, risk management, compliance, ethical business practices, avoiding conflicts of interest, accounting integrity and transparency. So these are some of the areas of good governance. So for an institution to be rated as a good institution, one should be following all these three pillars, taking care of all these three pillars, so that you can have a sustainable business, a business with better, I would say, social concerns, as well as a better corporate governance. In a sector which we are working in, that is the microfinance sector, which is basically a sector which is an impact sector. We are supporting the poorest of the poor people in getting them, providing the credit and helping them to grow their business or grow their finance or improve their financial conditions. So we are doing an impact activity, but this is how sustainable this activity is. That is something which we need to look at. Similarly, we also have a large army of employees with us, because this is it's a feet on street model where it's a high touch activity. So you have a large number of field staff. So how we deal with them? How are we dealing with our clients? These are some of the areas of interest. Corporate governance is an important aspect which everyone knows. For any entity, any business activity to sustain, governance is an important aspect. And we have seen several cases where because of the poor corporate governance, how the institutions have suffered, how they have lost out, and how good governance have helped institutions to grow. So these are some of the important aspects of any business entity. And for a business like MFI, this is all the more important. So this is what I understand from the ESG. Of course, I am also just a student of this, all these three aspects which we talk about. So I would be more interested to hear from our experts who are already there. So with this, I hand over back to Saibal, and I thank the speakers once again for being here. And I thank everyone who has joined this webinar. And definitely it shows how interested you are in these topics. So thank you so much, and make the maximum use of this today's opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maman. And as we can understand that today we will be discussing about mostly on your ESG side and also the TRST score side. So first, as the name says, we would like to know from Dr. Agya Tripathi on this how social component is relevant for MFIs in the ESG parlance. This is what this is the thing. Basically, we want to understand that what exactly the ESG and how can we implement it in the sector, microfinance sector or the development sector? How are you seeing it? So it would be good to hear from you. And then I will come to Sudhakar. So Dr. Tripathi is a certified social auditor and sustainability expert and qualified research professional, instrumental in end-to-end strategy management for organization aligning with global sustainable standards. He has 15 years of experience, more than 15 years of experience in different parts of the world. And mostly he has done work with government, donors, INGO, private organization. So he has contributed in the overarching space of the development sector. And development sector, definitely it also includes microfinance institutions. So over to you again. It will be good to hear from you. We have a lot of questions for you as well.
Thank you. So I hope you are able to see the presentation which I have prepared for the session.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity and bringing me in for this important conversation. I believe we all understand that why it's important.
Your voice is breaking again.
Transformed.
Your voice is breaking.
Hello.
Your voice is breaking.
Am I audible now, sir?
You're audible, but intermittently you are like breaking. Yeah, it's broken.
Maybe you can switch off your video and side, because it's breaking. And maybe there must be
there is also a possibility.
Just one.
Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Yeah,
Better?
please go ahead.
Okay. So as we all know that this is as Mr. Maman said, that this is not something which is new. Yes, we all are doing it, but somehow we are not aligning with the global concept which has been right now talked about mostly in Europe and US. So the journey of this ESG actually started with the Millennium Development Goals, which were not achieved by 2015 and then converted to Sustainable Development Goals. And then we started, and prior to that, we started talking about the triple bottom line concept. And that is where the ESG came in, that yes, economically viable solution for any institution is important for the sustainability of the institution. But what about the environment sustainability, the social sustainability, and the governance sustainability? So that's how the ESG concept came in. And if we diversify the ESG, the SDGs, the 17 SDGs, we can clearly categorize it into the E part, the S part, and also the G part. So let me take you through this presentation which I have prepared. So the general perspective is that, yes, it is a framework which can measure the sustainability of an organization. And when we say sustainability of the organization, yes, it will be talking about the environment sustainability, the social sustainability, and the governance related sustainability aspects. Now, when we say that, okay, what should be covered in E, what should be covered in S, and what should be covered in G, as my presentation will move largely around the S part of it, but yes, definitely I will be open to answer any of the queries which are related to the E and the G part. So sustainable lending is something which we are talking about in terms of ESG framework. And when we say sustainable lending, then there is an exclusion list which says that, okay, we will not be lending to any institution or any individual who is in the business which is not environmentally sustainable. So even if we are like doing a sustainable lending, but that sustainable lending should happen with the customer or with the individuals who are in the business which is sustainable, which is environmentally sustainable business, right? Then the social equality is something where we try to inculcate within our business, that how we are driving in the social equality things like loans to women rights in the organization, or maybe promotion of financial literacy among those who are like out of this access or who are excluded from the socially or the financial backgrounds. Now when we talk about the strong governance, yes, we talk about now there will be some overlap in between the S and the G part, because in one area we are talking about gender, and so sometimes we also have to understand that it is the internal and external, both ways we see ESG rating tool. So internally we should have a strong board, and on the other hand, when we say strong board, it should be socially diversified group, it should be gender diversified group. So a new theory comes in which is called diversity inclusion and diversity equity and inclusion. So that should also be the part of our governance body. Also because now we are in an era where data is one of the most important thing for most of the financial institutions. So data should be kept with a full secrecy. We need to have some policies which are in and around the data policies. We should not be like just talking about that. Yes, we are actually protecting data of our customer, but there should be some policies around it. So ESG talks more about creating policies, having disclosures, and then communicating to our investors and stakeholders. Few stats from where all this is coming in, why it is important for Indian MFIs. In 2021, the study has been done, and then it has been found that almost $10 billion is being invested in the name of impact investment, out of which $1.5 billion came to India. If the recent study says that this may reach up by 2025, it may reach up to $50 billion. Now the global impact investment, it says that the estimates are that impact investing market will also reach $500 billion by 2025. It includes microfinance institution, and it also excludes it. So if we talk only about microfinance institution and how much money can come in microfinance, it is almost like $50 billion. A study of the microfinance impact investors says that it has led to an average of 9% of financial return. So it is one of the places where all these asset managers are looking forward for making their business. So asset managers are looking for institutions who are having good ESG framework and good ESG profiling, and that is when they decide that how much amount of money I should invest there. So it is also actually been found in the study that almost 10 million people in India have the poverty has been reduced for them. Almost 5 million women entrepreneurs were supported by this money which we have received. And then it also promoted environmental sustainability by providing micro loans. When we see the social aspect, then we have to understand again, yes, it is not only about talk. We most of the microfinance institutions are doing exactly the same thing what ESG framework is asking about, but we are not reporting, or we are under reporting it, or we do not know that what framework should be used to report it, or maybe the framework is not aligned well with the global framework or the global composition of the indicators. So under social responsibility, like there are 6 aspects which may come in, like emphasize on human rights, financial services to poor, promote gender equality, social support, social development, adopt fair labor practices, transparency and accountability is another thing. So most of the MFIs are doing something in or around this. But maybe if somebody asks that, do you have a ESG policy for you? So MFIs will come back and say, no, I do not have ESG policy, but how to make it? So that is something which we need to understand, that yes, we are doing it, how to communicate in a way that the global investor should think about, or global investor is looking forward to. Now the S part again, so it helps in the financial performance, how it helps with the financial performance of the organization, because financial education is something which can be given to our borrowers, which can help them in taking a better financial decision, which can lower down the default rates. Another example is help in building the trust and goodwill. This will help in attracting more and more investors and more stakeholders, so that they can see that my business is long-term sustainable business, and that is why you can put your money with us, and it is something which we can take it forward. Help to improve the reputation of the MFIs. This is the another thing which is something like that. Yes, I am, if I am a strong MFI, let me have something which is related to ESG or something which is aligning my organization with the latest SDGs. So with this alignment, we also tell that yes, we are a reputable organization and we report on these factors which is accepted at global level and at national level. Now, looking forward, we should not see that ESG is a restrictive policy or a restrictive framework. We should understand that it is empowering framework. It helps us in assessing the risk, and also, so this is the last slide from my side. So it also helps in empowering the institution to get aligned with the global framework or the global investor and stakeholders who are looking forward for the impact being assessed and impact being reported in certain framework. Now it is globally acceptable and create positive impact on the society and the planet, because it talks about social sustainability. It also talks about environmental sustainability. Now, mitigating risk for impactful and sustainable future, it helps in assessing the risk, mitigating it, and also reporting that what has been done, how much risk has been mitigated. Attract socially and environmentally conscious investors and clients. So wherever the money is, so if we try to understand from a way that from where this money is coming in, so money is coming in maybe from the SDG bonds, maybe from the climate bond or green bonds or something of that sort, where SDGs are there, right? So we have to align ourselves with those funds and the reporting framework of those funds, so that the organization should be seen as an investable institution or as an investable product, where the money is safe and then the same money can be utilized for creating more and more impact. More and more impact should not only be created, but it also should be reported. So for reporting, we need the good monitoring and evaluation framework, and that makes this whole thing a bit of critical and something which needs which all the industry members or all the players in the industry should understand, that how to monitor it, how to report it, and how to measure it. This is all from my side right now. Saibal sir,
Yes.
over to you.
Yeah. Thank you again. I have a couple of questions, but I will come to you later on. Let us hear from
Sure.
our friend Mr. Sudhakar Raja. He's basically a serial entrepreneur who having over 30 years of experience. He's former CTO of Sriram General Insurance and having previously worked with Oracle KPMG in US on strategy and technology. So now from there and based on that, you are developing a different kind of thing, which is very, very much important for the sector as well. We are seeing that a lot of these HR related troubles are there in the sector. Over to you, Sudhakar. It would be very interesting to hear you as well. It's also part of your this transparency, overall transparency for the institution, and structurally keeping the keeping the structure of the microfinance operation very sane. If we can retain our this your employees, possibly nothing like that, because they are the pillars of the institutions. Over to you, Sudhakar.
Thank you, Doctor. Really appreciate the introduction. And thank you, Sa-Dhan, for giving me this opportunity to speak to all of you. Greatly appreciate it. I'd like to keep this very, very live. So there is a Q&A option in your tabs. Please go ahead and use that Q&A. I know as I'm making this presentation, you're going to have tons of questions, and those tons of questions, please go ahead and post those tons of questions that you have over there as well. Also, that way it's easier for all of us to get those answers as and when I present this as well. So basically, think of, I think there is a lot of, in Dr. Agria's presentation, we saw a lot of things about trust. We spoke about sustainability. We spoke about several different issues of good governance as a part of this entire storyline as well. So I'm going to take it from there and take you through some of the things that we have developed as well as a part of it. Trust score is very similar to your credit score. Credit score helps you. We are all used to the credit score model, right? So just like how credit score helps you in financial risk mitigation, we're looking at human risk mitigation. We are official partners with FIDC, Sa-Dhan, Retail Association of India, NHRD Chennai, and BASME have also partnered with us, including ONDC as well. Why did we develop this? It's simple. You must have read articles about moonlighting, people getting fired for moonlighting. Money Control article talks about the frauds that employee commit. Accenture fired a huge number of people for fake experience letters. TCS has been in the news of late as well. Accepting offer letters and not joining. I'm sure every organization today, name one company which says that they don't have a problem of this nature. Every company is having this problem, right? So Make My Trip founder spoke about it. Business Insider article talks about it. Frauds. India has become the hub of frauds. Today, you have everybody's being scammed. Your WhatsApp scam, this scam, that scam. People walking into TCS office with fake offer letters, not even fake. They actually paid somebody else to get that offer letter. But in reality, when they came to TCS, they found out that this is not the offer letter issued by TCS, as an example. Most of these scams, in fact, Bandhan Bank actually put out an entire notification and a video of how these things are happening as a part of this entire storyline as well, if you like. The problem is even bigger. India is losing about $100 billion. That's how much we are losing. 9% of the revenues of insurance sector is lost. 54% of candidates accept offer letters and don't join. A company like Infosys loses about 5 crores every year just on this one small little problem statement. And you can extrapolate it to the rest of the country and you will understand how big that problem is. 30% of SMEs and MSMEs go bankrupt. 40% of the times the resume has some discrepancy. Cost of background verification and time it takes is a lot. The banking sector last year lost 1.38 lakh crores last year. SK's MiroFinance is a classic case of a company that had huge issues. We always tell companies, even one wrong hire can cost the company lakhs and crores. The other side is if you lend to the wrong customer, the same thing can happen as well, if you think about it. So we don't come just from an HR standpoint, we come from a lending standpoint as well. We have now companies which are working with our data in multiple fronts, practically, if you think about it. We like to look at risk from a 360-degree angle. Today, you have a lot of people who come and work within your ecosystem. Employees, customers, agents, interns, gig workers, DSAs, outsourced contract workers. If you take the microfinance industry, a lot of people work with a lot of these SHO, the self-help groups that are there as a part of this, as an example. You have NGOs who are coming and working and part of this as a part of the distribution model for that matter. There are so many other people who come and work within your ecosystem. I've taken the sample organizational chart of a BFSI sector. You must see that, everybody is looking at, oh, let me look at my employees. Let me do background verification on them. That's the only thing that they do. But in reality, there are so many other people who come and work with your ecosystem, who go unrisk mitigated at this particular point of time, who can cause huge amounts of losses as well. Take the case of, like I said, an agent of an insurance company can cause more fraud and cause more issues to a company than even an employee for that matter. But go ask, where are they reporting to? They'll report to the sales department. And are they getting risk mitigated? No. If you go to the NGOs, are they getting risk mitigated? No. A construction worker who's sitting over there today, for example, goes from one company to the other. Does he have work history? How is he risk mitigated? Go look at the Rapido driver who basically molested a woman over there. He can go to Swiggy, and how will even Swiggy come to know there's the same guy who did it for that matter? Right? Because ultimately, all these gig workers and everybody also move from platform to platform. People don't work in a single organization. People work in multiple organizations as a part of the entire storyline. But yet, if you look at the entire work history, they will all look at only employees in reality, right? We need to risk mitigate the entire ecosystem. It is like keeping your front door nice and tight and shut, but your entire back door, windows, everything is open. That's what we are doing right now, if you think about it, right? And BGV is a very passive process. You need to risk mitigate 24/7, 365. Today, most of the frauds happen because of one reason and one reason only. If anybody can, it's anybody's guess as to what that is. It is because you are unable to verify the authenticity of that individual. If somebody's calling you and saying, I'm calling from Axis Bank, how do you know that guy is really from Axis Bank? If somebody's saying I'm an LIC agent, how do I know he's from LIC agent, for example? People are unable to verify the authenticity of that individual. That's why all these scams happen. We provide a widget that can be pasted on a website, which can help you to risk mitigate this entire individuals as well as a part of this entire storyline. We start from offer giving or entry to exit. We want to cover the whole ecosystem from the entry to exit and we want to integrate into your HRMS systems, your lending platforms, your CRM systems, wherever you store data, we want to make it like a UPI gateway. Right? We shouldn't have to do anything manually. It should be like a UPI gateway. We're able to get information in seconds practically. So we want to integrate into your platforms to make all this happen. The platform works in a very simple way. We think that everybody is a fantastic person. They start with 1,000 points, which is the maximum you can get. Everybody is a trustworthy person until the company says anything otherwise. If somebody is absconding from employment, committing a fraud, anything else that you report reduces the score of the individual. Just like how Sybil has created a framework for your payment behavior, here we are trying to build a trustworthiness behavior pattern as a part of this entire storyline. You can also send and track offer letters through the platform. The main idea of our partnership with Sa-Dhan is because we are trying to tackle an industry problem. We are not trying to solve a problem of a particular company, but an industry. Today, for example, let's say XYZ has already taken an offer and accepted an offer from a different company. Imagine you can actually check, hey, has XYZ accepted? You're trying to interview that person. Imagine being able to know he's already accepted an offer from a different company. And if you still like him, you go ahead and issue the second offer letter. And he accepts the second offer letter. The first company is immediately notified saying that he's already accepted another offer. Please look at your risk mitigation strategies. Imagine being able to do that. Imagine the amount of cost savings, productivity losses, all that can be saved as a part of this entire storyline. We have automated several different risk services. I'll come to that part later. We want to remove the process inefficiencies in the system. Today, if you look at Accenture fired 5,000 people for fake experience letters. If you think about it, after 3 months to 4 months, you've paid salaries, then you've paid, you've trained them, and then letting them go. What a waste of time, right? If you're doing a background verification and doing a manual call, you're actually talking to an employer who's already left that company for that matter. What a waste of time. If you're a lending company, you will ask the HRs to get letters. Why is HR getting involved in a personal employee's issues? All these are process inefficiencies if you think about it. Relieving letters, experience certificate. If you believe the relieving letters and experience certificate, you won't do background verification in the first place. So why bother with this entire process? Let's do away with it. If you do not flag such behavior, what happened in SKS Microfinance can happen to you also. You do not want to come to the risk of having to worry about all these kinds of things. And like I said, even one instance of wrong person coming into your organization or lending to the wrong person can cost you lakhs and crores. An employee of your company is also a borrower or an insured somewhere else and vice versa. We are asking banks and NBFCs, lenders like you, would you lend to somebody who's committed an employment fraud? Are you even checking that data today? Is there a correlation between absconding employees and his repayment behavior, as an example? Right? Is there today as an employer, do you even check if this guy has committed a fraud when he's borrowing money or committed an insurance claim, as an example? People are not checking these kinds of things. We try to bring a 360-degree view of that individual and the risk of dealing with that individual as a part of this ecosystem as well, right? And if you're an SME or an MSME, the likelihood of you becoming bankrupt, or if you're working with an SME and MSME, that is also a big challenge. We think of ourselves like a LinkedIn with a green tick mark. In simple words, if you go to LinkedIn, what do you have? Your experience, your education, what did you win in sports? If the tournament organizer says that you won the tournament, you get a green tick mark. If the employer says you are the employee, you get a green tick mark. You see the 1,000 points there. If it is less than 1,000, clicking on the I will tell you why it is less than 1,000 so that you can risk mitigate effectively as well. Anything that you mark within your HRMS system, you don't have to come and log into the platform. You sit in your HRMS system. You don't have to do anything new. We will integrate into those platforms and make it real time for you at the end of the day. Major advantages, 90% reduction in wrongers, absconding employees will come down, current employee behavior will become better. You think of us like a video camera. If you have a video camera, people will stand behind the line. If you don't have video cameras, people are breaking rules, doing everything else. Just by implementing this, we are guaranteeing you a 5% increase in your revenues. People will start behaving properly because ultimately today, that is the challenge that we have as well. Offer acceptance, joint ratios will become better. Your business practices will become more efficient. Talk about ESG. Your business practices will become more efficient, thereby helping you to risk mitigate. When you're lending today, for example, there are so many different databases. Today, Accenture fired those people for fake experience letters, and keeping the data to themselves is a risk silo, if you think about it. When you're lending to somebody gave you a falsification identification. What you did, you basically said, no, I will not lend him money. I'm not going to give him the money. But in reality, keeping the data to yourself is a risk silo for that matter. We want to bring that equation and remove it and make a data democratically available at the end of the day, right? So there are so many different risk silos that are existing. MFIs have a risk silo. Somebody else is having a risk silo. If you go, insurance companies have their own risk silos. Technology companies will have their risk silos. AML guidelines. Why should only BFS sector follow AML guidelines? Wouldn't I, as a company who's doing business with somebody, shouldn't I be following AML guidelines as an example? So all these are risk silos we are trying to break away and try to make data democratically available as well. You can imagine the ability. You can do fast lending. You can check the leads. Imagine amount of leads that you basically drop because you dropped. Let's say you reported somebody saying that this guy, I'm not going to lend because he committed an issue. He will go and take that paper and give it to the next bank or NBFC. By you having that information ready-made, you can now stop wasting time. Imagine being able to get the risk notifications in real time. Today, you have a lot of vendors who come and work with your request. 20 rupees the guy makes an Uber, or an Uber driver or an Ola driver, for example, or a Swiggy driver for that matter, makes 20 rupees for him. We are asking how good is the drive? What is he doing? Imagine your recruiters, your surveyors, your valuers, your lawyers, your agents, your interns. Everybody can have a rating mechanism, which is a shared economy model, thereby allowing you to hire the best of them and also to risk mitigate them as a part of this entire storyline as well. I wish to point out this very important thing, because just imagine the amount of fraud that your employees, your customers are going through as well. So let's say, for example, I represent myself to be coming from a microfinance company and I go there and take the money from them as a part of their EMI as an example and walk away. You may say, hey, you didn't pay me. It's not my problem that you trusted somebody else. But in reality, that customer is undergoing a huge problem at the end of the day. We can help you to risk mitigate that individual as well as a part of the industry. We're getting into predictive analysis and actionable insights. The code of conduct of both MFI, Sa-Dhan, as well as FIDC stipulate that you must check for such data for that matter. And we are one of the official partners of both FIDC as well as Sa-Dhan, and in the current case, even Retail Association of India and many others as well. Question always comes on compliance and privacy. We are like a SaaS platform. Whatever platform you use, we integrate with it. We are just like that. The data belongs to you, not us. So in this particular case, that's the way we work. We have built something called the Trust SaaS PII Vault, the personally identifiable information vault, which is both GDPR as well as New Indian Privacy Law compliant, if you like. Right. And if you're a technology company, if you have problems like the way that you had with AIMS Hospital getting hacked, or if you had the problems with that NBFC Fullerton which got hacked, if you have such problems, for example, we can help you to solve such issues for that matter, because our vault structure is built to help you to risk mitigate such things as well. So we can reach out to us. Without the consent of that individual, you cannot check the trust code, thereby protecting the privacy of that specific person as well. An email goes out to them as well, protect the privacy. So customers, these are some of the top customers. We got 200 plus customers already on board the platform and growing, if you like. Mr. Satish Mehta, who's the founding CEO and MD of Sybil, is in my board. Srinivas Acharya from Sundaram Finance, MD of Thomson Reuters, 2 Sigma MD. CIO of KPMG has recently joined my advisory board as well. And Mr. Sridhar. The beauty of all these things, it is absolutely free for the next till December 2024. That's approximately 2 years of free that we are offering to you right now as we talk about it. And for the next 2 years after that, 50% off. We have now developed something called automated risk services. Basically, you can do all these checks in seconds, no more of getting anything else from there. We are developing best practices for you to do all these things. We can, like I said, we guarantee you an increase in 5%. You can do address, PAN card, Aadhaar card checks and everything else within seconds. You don't need to employ a BGV company, nothing. Your utility bills, your gas connections, your phone connections, your EPA4 record checks, credit checks, court record checks. Just to make sure that you derive the full benefits of trust code till December 24, we are offering even prior employment checks free of cost. Absolutely free. This is all that is there as a part of the platform as well. Now, that's not the only thing that we do. We also have developed something called Open Jobs API. Tell me one company here which does not have attrition, huge amounts of attrition at the end of the day. What we are trying to do is you sit in your HRMS, there are 1,500 job portals. Government of India has got 400 government job portals. Every sector skill council has his own job portal. Your state sector skill councils. Yesterday, for example, I was with Tamil Nadu government's sector skill minister. I was telling him, which HR has got the time to go and post a job in these 1,500 job portals? What we are saying is you sit in your HRMS, you post a job, we'll pick it up. Any job portal can pick it up and come back and give you the data back to your HRMS without you moving an inch out of it. We are trying to partner with education institutions, skilling institutions, and everybody else so that we bring those resources to your doorstep. I'm working with both industry as well as education and training. One side, people say, hey, you know what? I don't have people. The other person says, I want job. Both of you are not talking to each other. We're trying to help you to make that talk and make it happen. And it is an industry initiative. It is going to be successful only when all of you adopt it and adopt it together. No point waiting for you endless time and everything else. First, take the step of coming together. I'm going to put my phone number and email address on the chat, so for you to be able to come on board and test it out. Thank you very much. I hope the presentation was useful. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them as well right now.
Thank you very much, Sudhakar. Possibly there will be any questions for you. Now, I do have two very eminent speakers bringing it back to your this ESG segment. One is Reggie Daniel, ESG head of ISAF. Possibly I would go to him after Yamini. Yamini will tell us, because I want to go to Reggie at the end of the deliberation. Deliberation means this your panel discussion, because I want to know from him how is he implementing all these things after understanding the parameters from all of the speakers. So Veena Yamini, over to you. So Veena is basically specialized in client protection, e-banking, market research, product development, social performance management, client protection. So this side of the thing where we are dealing with the clients, we are dealing with the our borrowers. And also she is also in the strategic side a bit when she is talking about this process mapping, business planning, advanced human resources. So both of the things are there. So Veena, I would really like to understand from you that how social performance is critical. It is not critical. We know that it is critical. I want to know that how is it really inseparable for this internal client protection, like the employees? How are you seeing it?
Sure. Thank you so much. Again, it's great to have have got an opportunity to talk to all of you and be part of one of the first webinar series. So I would like to focus a little bit because I think it's also a good segue from what we heard from Mr. Agya, which was about overall social performance, and then listening to Mr. Sudhakar, where he was focusing more on human resources. So just as an extension, I would like to focus a little bit on how is this social performance really critical for employee protection, which is the other side of the coin, if you may say. So, from what Mr. Sudhakar said, if we want to talk about microfinance organizations, we are all impact entities, like, as what Mr. Gigi Memon also was saying in his initial address. So being an impact organization, for us, it's very important that to achieve our social mission, we need to bring along the employees. This is not a journey these institutions can take up without the support and involvement of the employees, right? So where the social performance comes in is, it provides us a set of standards which organizations can follow to integrate into their own operations, and then sort of improve even overall organizational performance. So having said that, I think what we are basically saying when we say employee protection, we are talking about things like employee well-being. We are talking about human rights, employee rights. From an ESG perspective, if we look at global frameworks and standards on ESG, you would invariably see something around rights. Then we also talk about dignity of employees when they are at work and when they're associated with us, and even when they exit. So all of this, there are some standards which will help us guide that, these are the things that we need to do. And also this becomes important because we are dealing with vulnerable clients. Our quality of service to them will largely depend on depend on how well our employees are treating the clients, and that is again dependent on how we as organizations are treating our own employees. So it's like a big specifically bring about few points in terms of how does this social performance help in employee protection. First and foremost, it will help us in having an ethical and inclusive work environment. So when we talk about social performance standards, I'm largely looking at what is right now available in Google platform called Universal Standards for Social and Environmental Performance from SERIS and SPTF. Later, I'll put that in the chat box. But when we talk about global social performance standards, there are clearly guidelines about how we should be building inclusive organizations. So which means at the time of recruitment, we are not discriminating employees on certain basis. We do promote diversity, and also we do give equal opportunity to also. And the other one is in terms of giving fair compensation.
I think, Veena, you are on mute. Veena, you are on mute. Veena, it would be good if
so
you...
I think there is some connectivity issue. Hope you are able to hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Possibly you can stop this video. Yeah. Okay. Your audio may be a little bit better.
Video, that's what I was about to say. Yes, So
yeah, it's
I'm sitting right next to modem, and this problem is still persisting. So yeah, no problem. Yes. So as I was saying, I think first thing is definitely it does help in making our organization more inclusive, because we are bringing in different people with different experiences, and we are adopting some of the ethical practices as we are developing organization culture. The second point is around fair compensation and benefits. Basically, when we talk about fair compensation, what is proposed or what is given as a minimum is that we should be paying living standards for our staff. So living standards is definitely minimum wages plus above a little bit of that. So what is being encouraged in social performance is that we give them competitive salaries, we provide them adequate health coverage, and we give them other benefits, maybe something related to accidental insurance or, any other supports that we can give. So they have some sort of a financial security while they're working with us. The third way the social performance helps in employee protection is in the health and safety measures. So I think this is again something we heard the previous speakers also say, that it's becoming more and more important that we need to take into account the occupational hazards. Again, there are several guidelines around that as well. But as microfinance institutions, it is our responsibility to ensure that our employees are working in safe conditions. I mean, but at least like in Indian microfinance sector, I can say we have come a long way compared to before, where, earlier the employees would be handling lots of cash to now we are using a lot of digital payment mechanisms, which can reduce the risk for the employees as well. So of course, definitely from understanding, what are the different hazards or the risks our employees face when they go to field, so we are able to better equip them. It could be something smaller things, right? Like helmet, making it mandatory that, you wear a helmet, you go at a certain speed. So ensuring that we are tracking the risks that they may face and providing some support to, so they don't really get succumbed to these risks. The fourth way is professional development and career development. So basically, again, here the social performance standards sort of give several guidelines about how to invest in employee training and in career development. And so that we are able to improve the skills and competencies of our workforce, so they are able to deliver better in terms of our own social mission. And also the employees themselves will have good job satisfaction and career growth. So again, this is something very critical given where Indian microfinance sector is right now, where we are seeing staff attrition as high as 56, 57, even up to 60%, right? So I think this is something that really is worth focusing on. Fifth way this entire social performance will help is it encourages organizations to set up a grievance mechanism or a feedback mechanisms which the employees can use to register their complaints. So generally, again, we do talk a lot about client complaints, where we do say that, if clients have a problem with a microfinance institution, they can call certain number. But what is in social performance, we also advocate for is have such clear grievance mechanisms even for the employees to report if they have any concerns. Again, on this, in India right now, we do have, again, all the MFIs have Prevention on Sexual Harassment Act, and, they adhere to all of that. But we can go beyond looking at only harassment and probably open up a grievance mechanism in which employees are able to share their feedback. In this same umbrella also comes having a good whistleblower mechanism. So I think, again, that's something that does protect employees, plus also, as Mr. Sudhakar also was earlier saying, for fraud prevention and giving some scope, because most of the frauds or any misgivings are generally known by the peers, known by the employees. So if we give them all of these mechanisms where they can talk and the management can listen, it's definitely good for both employees and for the management. The other way is basically in social performance management, we also are looking at something like a work-life balance. Of course, this is easier said than done, especially for the field staff. At HO, office-based work is very different, but in field, the staff go through a lot in terms of, especially when there are bad loans and they have to get recoveries done. I think it's much more challenging for them. So we need to figure out ways to give them probably some flexible arrangements or give them some support where they are able to manage their physical and mental well-being as well. The next one is in terms of, I think this is something Pepsi ex-CEO Miss Indira Nui has done very well, is giving a purpose. Often what happens is in microfinance, we are in such a hurry-burry that, we have to do collections, we have disbursements. It becomes entirely transactional. So it is very important for the management and for the organizations from time to time to sort of remind the employees of the purpose or, the reason why we are in this business. So giving them that sort of sense of purpose and fulfillment also is very critical, because it's not another job like, like any other job like food delivery or anything else. Here we are talking about working with the rural or low income households day after day and trying to see these people move out of poverty and improve their quality of life. So sort of instilling in them that sense of purpose is very important. And the last one, of course, is also, as we train our staff in these behaviors, in ethics, and how, if we take care of our staff very well, in turn, their commitment to the clients also will improve. So these are the ways in which social performance can really help. I'll just make a couple of points here and probably I'll stop there. So if someone asks, like, where do I start? So one of the first places is definitely the code of conduct that our SROs have come up with. In that, in employee engagement, there are very, very clear guidelines as to what should be done. So I think the starting point definitely could be that. And for someone who wants to look at something more at a global level and more and standards and at a more advanced level, as I mentioned, the universal standards for social performance management is another area where they can go and sort of explore. So I'll share the link also, but yeah, I'll be happy to take questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We could understand. I mean, one thing, it's very important for the retention, apart from your background check and everything, what I could believe, I do believe that, this continuous reinforcing the purpose of being there is very important in your retention of the employees. because this, they, wherever they go, they can get the money. Wherever they go, they may be getting a better money, better salary, or whatever, better support. But this continuous feeding them, continuous develop their capacity, continuous processing of their being in this segment, what kind of support they're giving, giving, what kind of value they're adding in the life of the poor people, where are they taking them to, is very important, very, very, very much important. That's why possibly the development sector is is a bit different from the other sector. At the end of the day, it may be through finance, it may be through your handholding, it may be through promotion of enterprise, whatever, women empowerment, education, whatever. At the end of the day, they could understand that the purpose they are in, they have achieved a bit. Like you cannot achieve in one day everything, but still at the end of the day, we could understand, yes, we have done something which has actually helped the people to go forward. Thank you, Veena. Thank you very much for this thing. It is also a part of again what he was talking about. This when we are talking about this governance and also the social side, possibly it will also come as a part of it. So my last eminent speaker is Reggie Daniel. Reggie is a very senior person in the system of ESA. He is VP and head of the sustainable banking. Once I was fortunate to listen him, how he has implemented all these things in ESA and how he is trying to achieve the goal of ESG. So over to you, Reggie, to empower us. One side is the theory, another side is the practical side. So Reggie, I would like to know from you, how are you implementing, and also the challenge side? Like if you want to implement something, there may be certain challenges you are facing, because always you cannot implement the theories in practice. So over to you, Reggie. You have to unmute yourself. Yes,
yeah,
please.
Good evening, friends.
Good evening.
Well, at ISAF Small Finance Bank, being a bank which, or rather microfinance institution earlier, which came from NGO roots like many of you are, ESG has been there in the DNA of the organization. ESG, if time permits, I can show a small presentation on how we looked at it, or you just wanted to hear about how we...
You can do both. You can do both. If it is not too long, we would be happy to know. We would be happy to see as well. Yeah, please.
Yeah, is my presentation visible?
Yeah, it's visible very much.
Yeah. So E is defined as the ESG. In ESG, E is defined the environment. It simply measure the carbon emission and also the contribution to climate and environmental impacts. Yes, as we all know, there's a social impact or social capital generation which we can do. G, of course, is how well we do the business and compliance and the controls which we have. I have taken these definitions from an excellent book, Outlast, How ESG Can Help in Our Business by Mukund Rajan. It's an excellent book. ESG for business excellence. Sometimes we feel that ESG is an additional activity, but if our businesses have to outlast, ESG is an imperative. It is not a side activity. So ISAF's story also tells the same thing or reiterate the same thing, that environmental and social contribution was there in the DNA. That was one of the core purposes for which the institution was organized in the beginning, and even microfinance activities for empowering the lower strata of society, as many of us do. Now, it is important for us to understand that economic capital can't be built in a silo. Social capital and planet or environmental capital are essential components of building an economic capital also. Sometimes we feel that the industry didn't understand it well. These three can be built only together. And ESG is basically a measurement of whether all three are going well. Now, one have to be clear about what is the scope 1 emissions, scope 2 emissions, and scope 3 emissions. Through our activities, of course, there are enough literature available about how to measure this. Indian institutions, especially banks, have to grow a lot. Our financial institution has to grow a lot in measuring these aspects. This is emissions, the per capita, water consumption per capita, energy consumption, all these aspects we need to measure, and we should track it. Then only we can score in the aspect of environment, or positively engage, positively contribute to the environment. We can also promote positive environmental capital through financing clean energy, as many of us do. Then yes, of course, the social side as financial institutions, what financial inclusion which we do comes and contributes quite a lot to the social capital building. In governance, of course, to have a good board, the annual reports, sustainability reports, assessments, ratings, etc. Now, as I mentioned right from early 90s, ISAF has been in micro entrepreneurship development, skill training, women empowerment, and even in the sector, differentiated products for green product loans, etc. So, and quite a lot of emphasis, as many of us do, not just ISAF. In year on year, when we report this, that is very important. This is our last year's reports, annual report, sustainability report, and BRSR. BRSR is Government of India Initiative of Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report. So even before it is mandated, even BRSR, sustainability report, etc., I encourage all our microfinance institutions to report this. How we generate social capital, how we generate environmental capital, how we synergize that too for an economic capital. This is important. Now, this is our latest, just a month ago, we have received a ESG score. You may be aware of Care Edge. Care Edge, and their Care rating is, a non-ESG rating. There are many rating agencies, Sustainalytics, S&P, Care Edge, Acute, and many others are there. So we have been rated by CARE. So we got 71 out of 100, while the industry best is 79. And industry best in the sense, industry best in banking or financial institution side is 79. And industry average in banking is 59. We also got emerged as industry's best in green finance, health and safety, that is social capital side, product safety and quality, communities, opportunities for products for inclusion, etc. So this is our journey, and I encourage that all institutions to consider an ESG roadmap. ISAF has adopted this kind of a roadmap that in another 4 years' time, reaching about 10 million people with one or many SDG impacts. Since our products are linked with SDG impacts, it is along with the products, we also do it. We impact through the SDG. Then fostering local economic growth through JLGs and 5 million farmers. So this kind of food security, energy conservation, these kind of roadmap, when it is put in business goals itself, that is a positive way of engaging it. Now, we also have our score was also because of how we link our products with SDG. So this is when we link our products with the contribution to one or many SDGs. For example, SDG 7, we have a Go Green loan or a clean energy loan. We have SDG 8, we have VVY, that is Vyapar Vikas Yojana, or Farmer Interest Group Loan, etc. So there are several ways at which this is being done. This is my quick take through the project. I would like to say that, this Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam G20, one earth, one family, one future, or the planet, people, prosperity. These all were there embedded in our systems, not just in ISAF, but I would say many of our microfinance institutions, which has had an origin from NGOs. So it will not be difficult for us to excel in ESG, and in terms of any help required, we are always available. So that's what I would like to present in very briefly about our journey here in ESG.
Thank you very much, Reggie. But I also wanted to know from you the challenge side of it, because ISAF, being ISAF, there are different institutions. Means all of us, we know you got a wonderful leader to guide you. But where are the challenges? Where are you seeing the challenges? Because you have talked about this, your roadmap, creation of roadmap. Was it really easy to create the roadmap? And it means on paper, it may be easy, but walking on that path, was it really easy? Second, you are talking about linking the product with SHG. So do you think that it was easy journey for you? What's your observation on it?
Well, it was not an easy journey. Business of business is always business. That is why we always consider this. But it requires a larger insight to understand that a business capital or economic capital can be built up only by building simultaneously social capital and environmental capital. So yes, it is to a great extent our leadership, the founding members, and especially our founders, K. Paul Thomas, they're very clear in the understanding that the commitment for regenerative economy. So that helped. But in the same time, when we come together to create a roadmap, there is an internal struggle about, okay, is it only numbers that matters? Yes, food security also matters. So linking products with SDG impact and creating that kind of ESG roadmap is indeed a challenge, yes, but it can be done.
Yeah, I would come to Venus. I mean, when he's talking about creation of roadmap and working on it, so and also he's telling business is business. So how do you see, Veena, that this at the end of the day we have to be what do you call it? We have to have our income over expenditure or profit, right? So in that case, if we walk in that path, which is not bad, because there is also a sustainability of the institution. On the other hand, we are talking about this employee, this ethical and conducive, this thing, this your situation. Then you are talking about competitive salary may come. Then you are talking about health and safety. All these things are coming. So it may not go always hand in hand. What's your observation on it?
Yeah. So I think one of the key things is, right, so everything comes at a cost. I think that's the, in a way, thumb rule of business, right? Like if we give a little bit more salaries, it is less money to give, in terms of disbursements to our clients. So one of the core things that in social performance and the standards we look at is it's all about the balance. Where is it that I can balance? Sometimes by doing certain things, the cost is there. Like, for example, competitive salaries, or, you are being very conscious about understanding occupational hazards. You're taking care of your employees. By doing all of this, if your staff attrition comes down, that's a benefit for you. Because again, I think in microfinance right now, again, I'm quoting the number, like, where we have very high attrition, especially at the field staff level. Imagine the amount of money we have to spend in recruitments, in trainings, and also frauds, right? Like, so I think it's about how do we really balance all of this. And one of the things, again, like, I've shared the link to some of the standards, like, on the web, on the chat. It is about not just employee benefit, or, they're not a zero sum game. I mean, from what I have noticed also working with several MFIs, it's not that you do this, you will lose somewhere else. It is about how we make all of these things part of our own organizational culture, our organizational costs, that you're able to manage them all at the end of the day. Because I mean, I'll just give an example. Of course, ESAF is here, and also if you look at the MFIs which went on to get the small finance bank license also, if you look at some of them, they all had a great history on social performance, right? Like whether it's Ujjivan, Equitas.
True, very true.
So because it's the DNA, you have to have these things in your DNA. Only then you can really grow at that level. Otherwise, it will be a short-term benefit and a short-term, game in that sense.
Okay, thank you very much for your view. So now I will come back to Agya. Agya, we have discussed about this, your profit. We have talked about our protection of the internal client. It means our employees. We have talked about balance. So now there is a balance game. There is a profit. There is social. Where are you placing your ESG in the whole architecture of it? And how are you understanding? So many of our members are here. They would like to understand that these three areas you are talking about, how can you assess it? If somebody wants to do it, how can they assess it? Keeping that balance in. What Reggie was telling about this, whenever they have developed any product, it was always linked with the SDGs. So there are different kind of institutions. So I would like to understand more from you that how can we make it more your ESG compliant, because we have to do it. Otherwise, our funding may be mightier for us.
Right. So let me start with this, that initially it might look like that sustainability is something.
Once again, you have to close it. Once again, possibly you have to close this video. Yeah, please. Maybe it's better.
So one which we need to understand right now, the kind of environment we are in, that sustainability is not something which is on whims and fancies of somebody who wants to do it or whether he do not want to do it. It is something which is required by the funder. It is something which is required by the business perspective, and it is also something which is required at the client end. So initially, sustainability was seen as an economic sustainability of the institution itself. That's it. The whole definition was around the sustainability of the financial sustainability of the institution. But now when global parameters are defining that sustainability is not only about your economic sustainability, it is actually beyond it. So what we have done is, at a global level, we have changed the narrative from one to many. And that narrative is not only being set by institutions who are working in it, but also from the funding agencies who are putting their funds in it. Also from the agencies who are at like multilateral development banks or the development institutions who are like putting in money in the finance sector as per se. So one thing is very clear, that we are in a business of improving social capital, creating social capital. And we will remain in the business of creating the social capital till the time we are talking about three things, and which is accessibility, affordability, and adaptability of people around this particular social capital. If we take the example of India, that India has recently launched social stock exchange. So social stock exchange and stock exchange, can anybody think that yes, a stock exchange can also be launched around social? So social stock exchange is something which talks about the social capital. And when we say yes, social capital is something which can be traded, whether it is traded for return in terms of investment, or it is going to be traded in terms of returns which are related to environmental return or sustainability return or maybe governance related returns. one thing is very clear, that government of India is also thinking about, and they are also talking about the policies which talks about measuring the social impact, creating that social impact, and then trading the social impact. So if government of India is talking about all this, then where are the policies coming in? If we connect these two set of equations, that yes, there is a global pressure towards government of India, and government of India is also coming out with BRS reporting. So we have sustainability reports. Initially, during first year, there were only 100 listed institutions, those who have to like report in that framework. But now the list is increased to 1,000. So number of entities will keep on shifting here. When we specifically talk about that why MFIs are target, right? We need to understand that all this finance, whatever development finance is coming to any nation, what is the route with which, or what is the channel with which it can reach to the last mile where the impact is happening? So the best possible way is microfinance. The best possible way is small banks, and that is why all this money is concentrated in those institutions, or coming in, channelizing through those institutions which have large customer base. Now, when somebody is putting in money, yes, they require transparency in data. They require transparency in process. They also require transparency in impact. So when we say whether we need to do it or not, the answer is yes, there is a need that all microfinance institutions and those institutions who are creating impact with the help of funds received from outside India, or whether the funds received from philanthropic arms, definitely we create impact, we have to monitor it, we have to register it, and then we have to report it. Now, in aligning all this towards the specific roadmap or towards the specific framework, we are free to choose. But try to do anything which is beyond 17 SDGs. We cannot do it. If we are talking about development, if we are talking about sustainability, if we are talking about any kind of UN goals, all our activities, we will find that yes, any activity cannot go beyond these 17 goals. So once those activities are part of 3 goals or 5 goals or 6 goals, we should tell everyone that yes, my product is aligning with 3 sustainable development goals, and this will improve your sustainability not only in terms of business operations, but also in terms of how people are perceiving you, how agencies are looking at you. As soon as we do this SDG alignment, the next factor will come, which is your ESG reporting. So it's easy to do. Yes, as you correctly asked the question that how easy it is to be done. I think there are 2 parts to this question. One part is about intent of doing it, that why we are doing it, and the second part is about how easily we can do it or adopt it. Yes, it's not very easy, but what my point is, because I'm doing this kind of ESG rating for Indian microfinance institution, then in Asia Pacific and also in East European countries. Now, what I have seen that only one problem which Indian microfinance companies are facing, that we do not report. Yes, we are doing it in operations. We are doing exactly what is required to be reported, but we are not reporting because we are unaware of the fact that yes, this also needs to be reported. We already have something in place. Maybe it is in our DNA. Maybe it is something which is a part of our ethical business practice, but we don't have any policy. So those things, at least we should look back, sit with the senior management team and the board of directors, align them and sensitize them about sustainability and what factors to be included at the time of reporting it. Internal communication and external communication both. As Vinaji was telling, yes, there is a SPI framework. Yes, there is a PI framework, SPI framework. So many frameworks are there. It all depends upon us what kind of framework is helping me, that will create an understanding to any outsider and any inside employee, that how much sustainable we are or how much impactful we are. I think that is something where board needs to take a decision. It is not something which is bottom up approach. It is something which is top down approach. So board should take a decision that yes, this ESG report or SDG alignment report should be the part of our annual report package. Once it starts from there, I think all the people who are in this value chain, everyone will get onto it. And yes, everybody is adding value to it. Now, let me give a small example, as you asked, that from where we should start and where is the balance between all this. So let us imagine a situation that a microfinance company is like giving loans to small micro entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are using coal for energy generation, and then they are doing a business of like food. They are making tiffins and food and then distributing in the city. That's a small business, but they are completely dependent upon coal for their energy consumption or energy requirement for their business. No, whether it should be, whether the money should be given to this agent, this entrepreneur or not. No, that's the question. Because as soon as we say yes, we should give money, it means we are accepting that even the business is not environment friendly, we are financing it. And if we are doing it, our scope 3 emissions will not reduce. We have to report it somewhere. Scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Yes, this is critical to understand, but simply in our report somewhere we should say that in my exclusion list, if any of my client or any of my borrower is using petrol or any non-renewable energy resources to do his or her business, we are not excluding them. Our exclusion list do not take care of this. As soon as we do it, maybe our ESG report within the environment section, we may get some negative mark, but this is some business decision which we have taken. So this will impact definitely your funding. So as soon as a new fund comes in, if you think that this organization will get a green impact fund or something related to global green fund, yes, the answer will be no, they will not get, because in their exclusion list, this particular person or this particular borrower is not part of that. Right? So there are so many examples can be done, so many examples can be taken, but the overall point is that somewhere this balance between the E, the S, and the G part, I think we all are doing it. We have to create this intent. We have to sensitize our board that yes, this is important for the sustainability of the business. Otherwise, within the sector, I think we all understand, we all know that somewhere consolidation will start happening. As we have discussed, that most of the small finance bank licenses were given to those institutions who are sustainable in long term. And how that sustainability is measured, yes, the sustainability will be measured on these bases only. So it's good for us, it's good for our own viability, it's good for our own sustainability. Even if I have to be sold, I'm going to be sold, or I'm going to be merged by some entity, at least we should get a fair price, right? So that fair pricing can only be done if we are doing it fairly, or if we are reporting it fairly in the right way, right sense. So
We are losing you. Hello.
so yeah, so this is what I wanted to say.
Okay. Okay. We could understand. Possibly, Veena and Reggie, both of you will agree with me that the intent of the institution is possibly there. We already are doing the things, but what Agya was telling about, that we are creating possibly, but we are not measuring it and we are not trading it. Possibly we are not empowering our board also. So this is one of the areas we have to work on. And I think, means that's my very personal view, that couple of areas we don't understand also, that yes, it has to be done, or no, we should not do it. There is what Reggie was talking about, that this line of understanding and adopt with this thought process. We need to do that one in our sector. So anyway, from my end, my question answer session is done. We could understand a lot of things, but I'm now opening it to the floor if they have any question. Because there are people, there is a little bit of technical glitch. So we are seeing around 60 people. We were seeing around 60 people over here. Another 20, 25 people, they are there to the other links, which we cannot see over here, but they are there. they can use this your question and answer chat box, and they can ask the question. Possibly there is, yeah, please.
Swati has raised a question, raised her hand.
Who?
Swati Singh has raised her hand.
Okay, Swati, if you can ask. I'm not seeing Swati.
I can wait.
Yeah, Sachi Sajdev.
Hi everyone, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. If you
Good
can
evening.
introduce yourself and then ask.
Sure. So my name is Sachi and I represent Midland Microfinance Limited. I had a question regarding what Dr. Tripathi was saying, that how is it important? How do you identify these areas? How do you know what efforts has already been made? Should you refer to the guidelines that are mentioned in the different rating agencies and then map your efforts against that, or do you recommend any other way to identify what you're already doing?
Okay, so this question is to me, Sachi?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So Sachi, just to so when I start working with any institution, we start with a small package that, okay, what are all policies you have around your ESG framework, because most of the organizations do not report on ESG, right? So we ask about various policies which are related to their operations manual, their HR manual, code of conduct, and other things. And then we go line by line along with them that, okay, where are you looking at that? Yes, this is the piece. These are the pieces where I think I am doing something good for the social or the society or for the woman or for the gender. So there is a list series of indicators which are already been available on the internet. You can go through it. You can decide yourself that, okay, these are the parameters which I want to include in my reporting framework, and you can decide upon it. There is also like consultants available and organizations available there who can help you out, who can guide you through those parameters, that, okay, this parameter is good for you, but this one is not good for you. For example, if you are into a housing loan sections, so within that housing loan premises, that what kind of loan should be designed, or what kind of product should be designed, so that it should align more with SDG 8, 6, and 11. So this is something which requires peculiar skills, but definitely you can go back to your UN SDG goals. There are a list of indicators and sub indicators. You start aligning with them and start reporting on them. Once you report in qualitative and quantitative framework, definitely your report will go towards the ESG framework. So if you want, I can also share some links which are like DIY kind of tools, do it yourself tools kind of thing, where you can understand how this reporting is being done, how the impact can be measured. Because one problematic area is assessing the impact of the work which you do. Because once you do it, so it requires, if you ask me technical questions, so it is like you have to create a log frame for the organization and then log frame for the product and process. Then you do the weightage rating and then multiply those things and then find an equation which helps you. So the kind of score which you have must have seen with what Reggie has given, that, okay, 620 score out of 780. So this score comes out through some agency. You have to buy a product from them and then they will rate you. It is just like a CIBIL score or something. But for rating purpose, you do not need this kind of score. You just need those indicators on which the report should mention those indicators, that yes, this is something which I have done. These are the numbers and this is the impact. Measuring impact, yes, this requires statistical skill and some kind of hypothetical question which you need to take it in a form of hypothesis. That's a research part of it, but yes, that also can be done.
Got you.
I hope I answered the question.
Yes,
If
you
not,
did.
please ask.
Absolutely. No, I think I got a great understanding because we've also started working towards the ESG section. So, just wanted to be sure whether we're on the right track or not. But it would really help if you could share those DIY links that you were talking about. Maybe it will give
Sure.
us a kickstart and, we can take it up from there. Thank you so much.
Agya, Veena, and Sudhakar, and also Reggie, if you want to share some links or something, if you can send it to us, then we will send it to across all the members. Will be sending it to them. It would be good to get it. Now, Swati is there. Swati has raised her hand. Swati,
Yes, good evening all. I am Swati and I'm heading CSR department in ASA, India.
Swati, your voice is too remote to hear. Can you please be a little bit louder, or if you can do something that we can hear you properly?
Okay, yes. Sir, am I audible now?
Yes, please do it.
Okay, good evening all. First of all, let me introduce you myself that I'm Swati and I'm heading CSR department in ASA, India. So first of all, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. It was an enriching one. I have a question with Mr. Sudhakar. Sir, just would like to know that as you mentioned that it is a valid question and we all MFIs are facing this thing that loan officers, he might have resigned from our organization, but going and collecting the collections from the our borrowers. So how do you address this as how do you mitigate the risk in an organization level?
Sudhakar, you have to unmute yourself.
We have developed something called best practices of doing things. One is a widget that we provide. If you go to websites, people will put that don't believe people, blah, blah, blah. There was a disclaimer website that usually people put on the website, right? So instead of putting a disclaimer, the widget that we provide will help them. Let's say, for example, somebody says, I'm calling from Axis Bank. I can literally in seconds ask them, go to Axis Bank's website. If Axis Bank had used my widget as an example, check with that particular widget, interact with the widget and get that information about that guy and verify the authenticity of that individual as well. But we have also developed best practices of working with things. For example, what should happen if somebody's left and who's in charge of that client and so on and so forth. There is a communication methodology that has been evolved and so on and so forth. We can help you in implementing those methodologies as you implement TrustScore as a part of your entire ecosystem. We will help you in risk mitigating this entire ecosystem in a step-by-step manner, if you like.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
We hope that you come on TrustScore. We bring you on board as well. So
absolutely, sir. I'll have a word with MD.
Right.
Yes, sir.
It's good. Anybody else? Okay, fine. So we can do this chatting one-on-one.
Lakshmi Grover has raised her hand. Hold on.
Who?
Lakshmi.
Acha, Lakshmi Grover.
Hello everyone, I am Lakshmi Grover. I'm leading the impact department at Mitrita Financial Services.
Okay.
So my question is from Reji. Reji, my question is if we are talking about the reporting ESG, so apart from reporting it in the form of a report, is there any other way to report it? Like, are there some platform specific one where you can post your reporting and enhance your visibility in microfinance space?
Yes, your own website, you can report these. That's how the rating agencies will be picking up those reports from there to rate you. There are two kinds of assessments, passive assessments and active assessments. When we ask a rating agency to rate us, that is active. Otherwise, they will only pick up from where we are. Now, having a sustainability report or a BRSR in your website is one thing, but having the quality of inputs is another, for which certain frameworks have to be in place. For example, it will be good if you, some of you research on, what are the parameters BRSR is asking for, what all disclosures are there. So in our regular reporting structure in the organization, how those elements can be embedded. I in between mentioned about the per capita energy consumption. It's a interesting thing. Each of our branch consumes certain energy. So that data is available, but often we don't track it. When we track it, it is the way we also feel that we should control certain things. Per capita energy consumption has to come down. So when that become a practice through some framework that every month the electricity consumption and the per capita energy consumption is reported by the bank, or paper consumption is reported by the particular branch, when at the end of the year, we will be able to celebrate it, telling that, look, overall, we have made an impact. Overall, this much of carbon emission we could control, etc. Or even new things in the, we recently went in for e-sign process for all our loan disbursements. So tons of paper we could reduce. So operational excellence is the way forward for putting matters in the report. And when the report comes, it should have proper formatting, data collection mechanisms in place. And, it can be disclosed in the website. Other than that, there is no specific place where, it has, of course, BRS, most of us are not mandated, but otherwise it has to be submitted to the statutory bodies. Hope I have answered the question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
if you permit, I may add something.
Yeah, please.
Sir. So just one addition. So what we have to find here is that, yes, there is no particular platform where we are saying that, okay, these reports to be submitted or something. But we need to understand that India is working towards net zero emission. So what Reggie has given the example, let us take to the next level. That if net zero emission should also be the achievement which needs to be achieved by my organization, I have to start reporting on something within a section of the annual report. That environmentally, what exactly we are doing. So if we are converting my energy resources into some solar panel or something like that, we need to start reporting it. That's what my idea was, that if we are getting energy or electricity in like 15 out of 20 offices from a thermal power station, the kind of emission we have is different. But if we like establish a solar panel on all 15 branches, then the energy emission will be different. This is something which we need to report. The second thing, Lakshmi ji, we need to understand that when an investor is looking at investment opportunities, they first go to our website. And as soon as they start going to our website, they need to understand that how are we aligned with the sustainable development goals, and how are we aligned with the ESG matrix or the ESG goals or the framework. So this is not something. So if we are looking for an investor, then definitely we should start report about it in our annual reports, because these are the pick points for all those investors who are looking forward to. Anyone who wants to create more impact, that impact can be a social impact. But we can also tell them that, yes, we are also very impactful in terms of environment. And this is how these small blocks actually come together, and then we get the sustainability framework.
Absolutely.
I just
Thanks
want to
for your-
add. Yeah, I just want to add. I think Lakshmi ji, I think you have raised a very big question, and we all want to answer that. So one of the things that I generally suggest is to look at something very industry specific, right? So we are in microfinance industry, and there are some very specific standards and certifications that are available for us. Not all of them are called ESG, right? But you have client protection certifications, you have social ratings. They are the starting points. Like, instead of suddenly jumping and saying, I'm going to get an ESG rating, start with this, ensure that these ratings are there. Once you get ratings, again, mostly they're all by accredited agencies, and you can put up their logos. For example, again, in related to HR, we all know that there is a Great Places to Work certification. So I think it's like, it's not just one rating. I would say there are multiple. It's like, like just peeling an onion. So there are multiple things that you need to do to say that we are doing really great on ESG. It's not just one certification. Of course, once you're really confident you have all of this, you can definitely go for, ESG rating, like what Mr. Reggie was showing. But start small, and, not just look at ESG. Something like client protection is the basic. Ensure that we are 100% there, and, like code of conduct assessments, like ensure that happens year on year. These are smaller things which are not.
I would like to, sorry for intervening. I just want to know that you are telling that there are many these certifications available. So which one to pick up? There is a big question.
Yeah, so I think again, one of the things what we suggest is go by what your investors are asking, right? So why are we going for a rating? Generally, it is either we want to attract some investments, or someone is asking for it. So, for example, I work a lot with impact investors, and they have in their mind very clearly that these are the ratings we need to see. For example, many even in India would say, have a code of conduct assessment, have a client protection certification. It could be done by any rating agency, right? So I think one, keeping an ear to what investors are asking, funders are asking, and in terms of like where you can get support, like you do know some agencies or entities or individuals who can help you with certain preparing for those ratings. That is another way to go. But yeah, it has to sit in with why we are doing this. It's not just like just gathering certifications, but why are we doing this? What are we going to achieve by getting all of this? So I think that's the question, and based on that you go ahead with picking any of this. Again, very quickly, an example is now some of the investors, especially from Europe, are asking for sustainability ratings, right? Like they want to understand specifically on that. So there are some agencies which cater to that. So you have to just keep your eyes and ears open to see purely as an internal exercise. I think you should definitely start with the code of conduct assessment, client protection rating, and maybe some social rating to start with. I think this could be sufficient to start. Yeah.
Sounds good. We have also exhausted the time, and it is wonderful discussion. I can discuss on this for like another 1 hour, but I think we need to stop here, because there may be questions from our participants. They are sending it to us. We will definitely pass it on to you. But what I could understand that this understanding of the parameters, understanding of your objective of the institution, and assimilate with the need of your investor is very important. You have to be balanced in that one also. What your need is, institutional objective is, and also assimilate it with the need of your donor. So where here also you have to do a balance. Now, once you do the balance, you will also get to understand that what are the parameters. Now, if you understand the parameters, possibly you are already creating, possibly you will start rating what Reji was telling about, that the data collection, information gathering. It has to be very strategic information gathering, which can be aggregated, and which can also help you to understand your institution and help in trading. Trading may be a bad word, but it is true that we need to inform somewhere, we need to report somewhere, we need to aggregate the data someone, then we need to pass it on to our different stakeholders who are contributing in the system. I think this is the time to thank all of you, the very eminent the speakers, for giving your very valuable time for this. We have learned a lot. And in future also, we would like to be working with you in one thing or other and get your insights in the system and make this sector very happening. It is already, and take it to the next level. Thank you very much. Thank you, participants.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.